giants striding the hills, ogres in dark forests, trolls crouched in caves, waiting for the sun to fail. You've met them in fairy tales and bedtime whispers. But what if they weren't only inventions? What if giants, ogres, trolls, and other almost human figures are blurred memories of beings we once lived beside? For most of human history, we weren't alone. We shared rivers and valleys with other kinds of humans, rivals, neighbors, sometimes predators, and the stories we told about them may have traveled through tens of thousands of years. Some tales are strange, others frightening. The unsettling part is this: many of them feel accurate. Welcome back, Darklings. Picture a night 100,000 years ago. Cold air cuts the lungs, the fire gutters low, and beyond the light, eyes. You are Homo sapiens, but not the only humans here. In Africa, a climber walker with long legs and curved fingers moves between ground and tree. Deep in the rising star cave system, far beyond any natural light, bodies of at least 15 individuals were placed together, perhaps deliberately. If so, a species with a brain barely a third of ours still acted with intention, maybe even with belief. Here's our thesis and our method. We're not proving fairy tales. We're testing whether their core motifs align with what paleoanthropology and genetics reveal. By accurate, we mean the spine of a warning survives. Cave dwellers who shun daylight, immense strength, small people with odd speech, patterns that match places and neighbors the ground remembers. Names and spellings will be standardized: Neanderthals, Denisovans, Homo floresiensis, and where evidence is debated, we'll say so. Folklore is memory shaped for survival. It carries instructions: where danger waits, which faces aren't ours, because the stories that keep children alive are the stories that last. Tonight we'll set tales beside bones and genes and ask a simple question. When myth points to caves, mountains, and islands, does the fossil record point there too? If so, the monsters at the edge of the fire were never just fantasy. They were neighbors and our oldest warnings. Follow the limestone down until daylight disappears. The passage pinches, the air turns cool, and then a chamber opens, black as a closed eye. Here, in South Africa's rising star system, archaeologists found the remains of at least 15 individuals, far beyond natural light. Not a place you stumble into, not a pit that casually swallows the dead. Bodies appear to have been carried here, again and again. Meet the climber walker, often misnamed in rumor, but known to science as Homo naledi. Long, slender legs and feet almost like ours, good for distance on the ground. Curved fingers and upward-angled shoulders, good for gripping branches and moving in trees. The skeleton reads as both walker and climber. The braincase is small, roughly a third of ours, yet the hands are capable, the wrists sturdy, the gait efficient. The anatomy says adaptable, not simple. What unsettles is the context. In a chamber so remote you need crawling roots to reach it, the dead were placed together. If deliberate, this is intentional deposition, perhaps ritual, perhaps practical, but purposeful all the same. We should stay cautious. Burial is debated, soot and markings are argued over, and small brains do not preclude complex behavior. Still, carrying bodies into darkness implies planning, social bonds, and fire control strong enough to cross thresholds most animals avoid. Listen to the motif that hums under the data. Deep caves, other folk, no daylight. If you lived alongside a small, sure-footed people at home in holes in the earth, a warning would form quickly. Don't go where the light fails. That place is theirs. Over centuries, the rule hardens into a figure, a cave dweller, slow but strong in the dark, not us. The details change, the spine remains. We keep our guard up against neat stories. Not every chamber births a legend, not every legend points to a chamber. But Rising Star gives us a plausible seed for the old caution: someone else owns the dark. And that someone walked beside us. From the limestone and heat we turn north, into air that cuts and nights that last, where compact, muscle-dense hunters stitch hides by firelight and move like wrestlers among the ice. Neanderthals are waiting. Wind off the glaciers files everything down to essentials. Here, compact bodies win. Neanderthals stand a little shorter than us but carry mass like armor, thick long bones, huge muscle attachments, broad noses to warm brutal air, deep-set eyes under heavy brow ridges. Brains rival ours in size. The silhouette says power and economy, built for cold. They are no cartoons. Hearths flare in rock shelters, workspaces repeat with quiet order. Stone tools show planned production, hides are scraped and stitched tight to the body, bone awls and needles tell you winter isn't endured bare. These are sprinters and grapplers, close-range spears, ambush hunts, teams driving reindeer into choke points and holding ground when a bison turns. Then the evidence that makes us swallow. At some sites, long bones, human as well as animal, are cracked for marrow. Cut marks run where butchers usually cut. Sometimes there is burning. Explanations compete: starvation episodes, mortuary defleshing, intergroup violence. No single motive fits every case, and we shouldn't pretend it does. But the data refuse to be friendly. Folklore loves thresholds, and Neanderthals use caves because caves keep heat, not because they can't walk out. Still, the pairing is sticky. Dim light, cave mouths, immense strength, almost human faces. If you needed your children to avoid certain holes at dusk, what story would you tell? They live there. They don't like the sun. They are strong. Hold the caution and the rhyme together. Not every troll is a Neanderthal. Not every cave tale remembers the Ice Age. Yet across these latitudes, the motifs do align. Strength in the dark, comfort at thresholds, a neighbor that is us but not. Eastward now, into high mountains where a different cousin left few bones but a long genetic wake, the Denisovans, a cave above the Anai River, Altai Mountains. In 2008, a child's finger bone and, nearby, huge molars came out of the screens at Denisova Cave, fragments that, under a sequencer, mapped a sister lineage to Neanderthals. The Denisovans, here the order flips, genes first, bones second. Their genetic signature spreads across Asia into Oceania. In parts of Melanesia, it is substantial. One borrowed variant, EPAS1, helps Tibetans move oxygen at high altitude, likely a Denisovan gift. A heavy lower jaw found on the Tibetan plateau, the Zaya mandible supports a high country presence. Caution keeps us honest. Fossils are sparse. Giant height is speculation. What the teeth and jaw do say is robust, and the genetics say wide reach and mixing, even a first-generation Neanderthal Denisovan daughter in this very cave. Set that beside mountain folklore that assigns the high places to others, broad, strong, remote owners of the snow, and the rhyme is hard to miss. In folklore grammar, power plus altitude equals giant. In life, it may have been neighbors built for hard country. We won't force a match. But when a lineage leaves strength in molar and adaptation in blood, it reads as presence larger than life, which is all a story needs to scale a human into a mountain figure. Now tilt the map southeast, where the giant motif inverts into little hunters with ash on their cave floors and legends at their door. Homo floresiensis and the Ebu Gogo. The cave is Liang Bua, on the Indonesian island of Flores. In 2003, a skull the size of a grapefruit and leg bones from an adult told a simple, startling story. A hunter about 1 meter tall, chinless, with proportionally large feet and a likely shuffling gait, Homo floresiensis. The sediments hold finely flaked tools, ash bands from hearths, and butchered bones of stegodon, island pygmy elephants, and giant rats. Small brain, yes, but the hands right competence. Edges planned, fire used, meat processed. Outside the cave, the villager's tale persists. Ebu Gogo, small, hairy, pot-bellied, chattering in near speech, stealing food, sometimes a child, dwelling in caves. Folklore loads every card it can pull, so names and morals vary. Still, when the cave with ash and tools sits in the same hills as the legend, the motif alignment is hard to ignore. Little folk, not us, cave-bound, watch your stores. It's not proof, it's a rhythm. Islands encourage extremes. By the island rule, big animals shrink and small ones grow. Energy, not ego, sets the size. A downsized human lineage tuned to Flores food webs is plausible and story-worthy. You would name such neighbors quickly, if only to mark which ravines are theirs. Africa adds a whisper from blood rather than bone. Ghost hominins. In some West African populations, stretches of DNA look imported from archaic lineages we've never found as fossils, proof of ancient mixing without a skeleton to show. Earlier still, our line met Homo habilis, the earliest confirmed toolmakers, Homo rudolfensis, and the robust plant-eaters Paranthropus, upright, ape-strong arms, broad flat faces with flaring cheekbones. Herbivores, yes, but uncanny to watch on two legs and memorable. Collect the silhouettes: mountain robust, cave strong, island small, walkers who climb, sprinters who ambush, herbivores with anviled jaws. The record is a crowd, not a ladder, and crowded worlds breed boundary stories. Not that cave, not that ridge. Tie the basket at dusk. Those warnings harden into characters: trolls, giants, little folk. Next, we test one of the hardest alignments, Scandinavian trolls, against Ice Age neighbors. Along fjords and under mountain lips, trolls are said to live in caves, shun daylight, fear bells, and sometimes steal women. Strip away later caricature and you keep a sturdy core. Cave threshold plus dim light plus immense strength plus almost human. Now place that motif over Ice Age maps dense with Neanderthal sites. The rhyme is clear without forcing it. Neanderthals weren't trapped underground. Caves simply hold heat and tools. But a face adapted to dim, a compact, muscle-rich body, and comfort at rock thresholds will read as giant in folklore grammar even at human height. Turning to stone at sunrise is a tidy way to encode you won't see them by day. The bell is a later Christian graft, useful as timestamp, not data. The ugliest thread, abducted women, works as social control story. Yes, it can also be a scrambled memory of gene flow. Most non-Africans carry small percentages of Neanderthal DNA, encounters beyond battle. That doesn't prove raids or sanctify romance. It simply explains why a grandmother might tell a child, "The others took our girl," when a face in the village bears the next valley's bones. Keep humility. Not every troll is deep time. But when caves plus dimness plus strength plus almost human cluster on the same ground as Ice Age neighbors, the outline merits a look. Next question: can a story carry such a spine for millennia? Evidence suggests some narratives endure. In 2016, researchers traced certain folktales e.g., the Smith and the Devil, thousands of years back using phylogenetic methods, probabilistic, not exact, but striking. In Australia, Gunditjmara traditions remember the Budgebim volcano's lava. Geology dates activity to tilde 37,000 years. Inuit and Native American oral maps describe coasts now drowned since the Ice Age, later confirmed by geomorphology. In 19th century Scotland, David MacRitchie noted fairy hills aligning with prehistoric mounds. Anthropologist Robert L. Kelly shows small-scale oral societies preserve functionally vital cores, roots, risks, identities for very long spans. Polynesian navigators memorized star paths as chance, fixing exact rise and set sequences for ocean crossing.